Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Mr. Stevie J893 and I'm back with another video, and I'm going to be doing a short review on OS X Mavericks. So let's take a look. So as you know, OS X Mavericks was released a couple weeks ago. It was the free download release that came out as part of the keynote for the new iPads and everything. And so it's the update to the operating system for Apple's laptops and desktop computers. Alright, and I'm not going to go through this video talking about every single change or update. I'm just going to point out some things that really stood out to me. And the first thing that you're going to find is the length of time that it takes to download this OS update. Also the size of the file. The file was in excess of 5 gigs. And I have a pretty strong internet connection, but for some reason that day it took a long time. I've read accounts where people, it didn't take really that long for them, but for me it took right around 2 hours for it to download, to apply the update and everything, and for me to finally log back on. In addition to that, one of the things that I noticed is that in order to use iTunes or iCloud Radio, you had to actually have an iCloud account, so you had to actually log into that. You had to log into that at the time that you were logging on back onto your computer in order to be able to access that. And I thought that was a little different because that wasn't something that we had to have before, especially for iTunes. Some other things that I noticed here were changes to the dock. Try and zoom this out a little bit here. Alright, so this is my MacBook Pro, my 2011 edition, 13-inch. And one of the things that you notice is there were changes to the dock. The dock is a little bit more, the background is a little bit more brighter. It's not as transparent as it used to be. If you remember before, you used to be able to go in there and adjust it a little bit. Now it's kind of brighter. It stands out from the rest of the screen. Also, you notice that any applications that you have open before, you used to just have a little dot that would show up beside the icon. Now it's like a solid line, so you can see that with the wallpaper app that I have here. Safari, you can also see it. Whatever apps you have open, you can actually see that. You also have over here, similar to iOS, you have a drop down right here. And this shows you events that you have on your calendar. If you have any emails, if you have any, in this case, iTunes or podcasts or anything, it'll show you that. I think that was a good feature on iOS, and I'm glad that they actually brought it over to OS X. So that's a really good feature there. And again, that's accessed by just pushing this little menu button here. And once you push it back, it disappears. The next thing I noticed is, of course, that they install Maps and iBooks, and I think I kept Maps on here. Not really sure why. For me personally, I don't really see much use for having Maps on a laptop or a desktop computer, not with everybody having cell phones and GPSs and things like that. I mean, having Maps on a desktop computer is, unless you can look up directions and then send it, it's really no need to have it. But this is Maps. iBooks, we already know this. Any books that you have, you can download them and look at them on that particular app. I'm not going to go into pulling that up. Now, another new thing was the iLife and iWork suites. Now, if you're new to Mac, you get that free. All you have to do is go into the App Store, download iLife, which is GarageBand, iMovie, and iPhoto. And then you've got iWork, which is Pages, Keynote, and Numbers. You can get those for free. Now, if you already have a Mac products like me, for example, I already have this MacBook Pro. It already came with the iLife 09 suite, but as far as iWork, all I had was Pages and Keynote. I didn't get Numbers free. So what I did get was an update. There have been updates to, for those of you who already have these features on your computer, there's updates that give you new features. Alright, so you can see right here, iPhoto, right here. It's no longer the color it was, it's now blue. You can see iMovie is now purple. There's been some updates to that big time. That actually, if you go into it, it doesn't even look the same. Alright, this is it. This is iMovie now. Now I just loaded one of my old videos in here just for the heck of it, but you see it's only one video now. It's no longer the whole library, and you see it only has one video. Here's Pages. Now, Pages used to be a purple ink jar with a pen sticking out of it. This is what it looks like now. Some of the updates to that were done to give you more themes and stuff like that. Same thing with Keynote. You now have more themes that you can draw upon. Another thing I noticed with iTunes, I used to have an issue. Before running Mavericks, I was running Lion, same operating system that the MacBook Pro came with. One of the problems that I was having was whenever I went into iTunes, I have a lot of podcasts that I download. Every single time I would start downloading a podcast, I would get that spinning beach ball, and my iTunes is set up to download different multiple podcasts simultaneously. So every time one podcast would start, you get the spinning beach ball. Then if another one started, it would start back up. If the first one ended, it would do it again. I mean, it would just constantly keep going to where basically whenever I was downloading podcasts, I almost had no functionality on my computer until they were finished. Now I noticed that it may start up for a second or two when you first start downloading the podcast, but that's it. Doesn't even do it when it finished. So pretty much have my computer back. I've got usage for it now. I don't know if anybody else has had that issue. I was actually thinking something was wrong with my computer, and I started researching it. Found out a lot of people had that issue, but for me it seems to have been fixed with the Mavericks update. Another thing that I noticed was battery length. Now, I know a lot of people, or I've read and heard in a lot of videos and things where people say that they've gotten up to an hour more battery life, and I haven't gotten that. With my computer before the update, I could unplug the power cord from it and regularly see on average 6 to 6.5 hours of battery life. Now, of course, that's gonna fluctuate based on what apps you have open, how intensive the apps are, things like that, screen brightness, all of that type of stuff is going to affect your battery life. But it it was pretty efficient to where I got pretty close to what the computer said I was going to have. With Maverick, since I've done this update, the very first time I unplugged it and let it cycle through, I think I may have had 3.5 to 4 hours, so I lost a lot. Now, and I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this while I'm talking, so I'll see what comes up. The battery's at 98% charge, but now it seems to have increased a little bit, but I don't think I'm anywhere near the 6 to 6.5 hour mark. Now, speaking of that, another thing that I did notice and I kind of like is that it tells you battery intensive apps. It tells you apps that are using significant amount of energy, and that could impact your battery life. Now, another thing I noticed that I don't like is, before this update, it could calculate battery time remaining quickly. I mean, within seconds it would show you. Since Mavericks 10, it takes a while. And I mean a while. I mean, I'm sitting here now. You see me keep looking off. I'm looking at the computer. And even now, it still has not shown how much battery time is remaining. Maybe it'll do that by the time the video ends. Another thing, I talked about the appearance of calendar. If you notice, or if you remember, your old calendar had that kind of leather-like look. They call it scuffemorism. Anyway, Apple has gotten rid of that, and now it just looks like a plain desk calendar. So they've changed the appearance on that. And then if you notice, if you have any note taking apps, they've done the same thing. Just like with iOS and Notes, they took away the 8.5 by 11 Lego pad look and just made it feel like a plain piece of paper. Well, that's pretty much what they've done here. I don't necessarily hate it, but it's not the best. I mean, some of that kind of adds to the experience. I guess it really depends on the user and what you like. It's okay to me. It's not, like I said, it's not a deal breaker. I don't hate it or anything. So another thing that I noticed was the iCloud Keychain. Now, if you're familiar with using Google Chrome, you already know about this. I use Chrome on my MacBook Pro, and I also use Safari. For Chrome, they've already had the Keychain, and it's basically where it stores your username and password to different sites that you log on. So, like, say for instance, if you're logging on to like a bank account or something like that, it'll populate that information for you. If you're doing something like filling out a job application, the blocks where it asks for your name, your address, and phone number, it pulls up the information and asks to autofill it. Well, now this is what iCloud Keychain does. It does the same thing that Chrome does. And I'm glad they finally brought that over, because I actually kind of want to switch completely over to Safari, but there are certain things within Chrome that I actually like that it seems like Apple is taking forever to implement into Safari. So as a result, I kind of keep both browsers around, even though I really want to move completely to just Safari. Alright, and the last thing I want to talk about here before we go is if you pull up Safari, you see right here on this side, you see the web page, and I'm actually looking at a Mavericks page on the Apple website. But then over here on the side, there is what they call a sidebar. Now, normally this sidebar will tell you any messages that you have on Twitter or LinkedIn. In my case, I don't have either one of those, so what it does, it lists my bookmarks. I thought that was a good feature. I mean, it allows, if you're having messages or whatnot, it allows you to access it and do a quick response. And, you know, in this digital day and age, I mean, that really helps out a lot. Let's check this last little bit here. We wanted to check and see if it would show how much time was left. Okay, so it's saying 6:53, 6 hours and 53 minutes. That's remarkable. That's the most it's ever shown since I've had this update. Now, I don't know if it just needed to cycle through. I don't know, but I've never seen 6 hours and 53 minutes. I hadn't even seen 6 hours since the update. So this is, even still, it's only about a 20 to 30 minute update on what I had before. And again, that's going to be based on what apps you use. It also shows you here what apps that you're using that are taking up significant energy. So I mean, I like that feature, and I'm glad it does it. It's just the fact that it takes forever to do. So interested to see what comes out of all of this. So if you guys, like I told you before, this was not an all-inclusive type of video. It was just to show you, give you first impressions and let you know what I thought of it. So if you guys have downloaded it, if you noticed any changes, if you saw anything that you like or dislike, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought of it, and I'll catch you later. And thanks for watching. Do hit that like button, and please do subscribe. Thanks.